Hi everyone, welcome back to episode 2 of season 3 of Beyond Energetics. My name is Sarah and I am so grateful to be here. For those of you who do not know me, I am an energetics practitioner. More specifically, I'm an integrative energetics practitioner, which just means I bring a whole bunch of modalities and weave them into one delicious individual session, specially curated for you one-to-one in our containers and portals and classes and meditations that you get to participate in. So on today's episode, we're going to dive deeper into the work I do, the untangling. We dive into a bit of womb work in the last episode, and that womb work has been coming up more and more in client sessions. It's something that I specifically remember having a transformation through the womb when I was in my yoga teacher training, actually, when I was purging and moving through and opening up and expanding my own energetic field. And I remember specifically how transformative that moment was for me. I could feel all the generations before me who have passed on in my lineage come around me in an experience that I cannot explain fully. It was a feeling and a sensation, and it was like they were all standing there with me. I could feel their energy, their spirit, and this ball of energy just moved up through the womb and up and out. And as it left my body, I had a huge visceral reaction and just began crying. And that crying and that purge lasted for about 3 months every time I got on my mat. And it was the most cathartic healing experience that I think I've had in my entire life. And so since then, I have been working more deeply in connection with the womb and with lineage. However, just recently, I was able to put all the pieces together and curate this beautiful program and this beautiful offering that I finally get to call the untangling. And so if you are here today, I truly believe there's a reason. You do not have to have a womb to be here. So let's get started. Take a moment just before we begin, just to kind of ground. So take this moment to settle in, grab a tea, grab a blanket. If you are sitting or laying down, seeing if you can open up that heart space by looping those shoulders back and down and really rooting into that place and space that is holding you, whether it's a chair, a bed, the earth beneath you, letting yourself be held rather than holding yourself, even if it's just for a moment. If you listened to last week's episode, the one about carrying someone else's trauma, thank you for the messages that you sent my way. So many of you wrote in saying that you felt something shift just in the listening. The activation at the end reached somewhere that nothing else has quite touched, and hearing that made me so grateful for that activation channeling through, for showing up for yourself. I'm so grateful that you are here and are listening, because that means everything to me. And it tells me that, maybe we do need to go a little bit deeper. So today I want to talk about something very specific, something I see in almost every woman I work with, and something I know intimately from my own lineage. The women who were never allowed to fall apart. I see you, I feel you, and I hear you. This could be, if not you, your grandmother, your grandmother's mother, your own mother. These are the women in your line who kept going through famine, through loss, through marriages that broke them, through grief that knocked them to the knees and had no name and no space and no witness. They survived. And in their survival, they did something that cost them everything. They went silent. And in that silence, they swallowed that grief, that unfelt fear, that love that never got to be soft. It didn't disappear. It came to live in you, in your line. So I want to paint you a picture I want you to imagine a woman, maybe your grandmother or her mother or someone further back in your line, who experienced something that broke her open. Or maybe you can even remember a time when this happened to you. When was a time where you were broke open? A loss, a betrayal, a survival that cost more than anyone around her could understand. And imagine that she had no space to feel it. She had no language for it, no permission to stop and grieve. She had to keep going. She could not stop for a moment. She had to keep going because around her life kept demanding. You know, we forget that as women, we oftentimes have so many responsibilities. We have children that need feeding, a household that needs running. Weakness becomes a luxury that nobody could afford, especially back in the time of war. If you took the time to grieve, and even to this day, if we take the time to grieve, sometimes we feel like if we stop for a moment and let ourselves feel it, then we'll completely fall apart. And we won't be able to fulfill our roles as mother, daughter, sister, auntie, whatever that looks like. So what she did, what women of her generation did and knew how to do, was tucking it away deep in the body, deep into that womb space, in the place where we store, as women, we store what we cannot yet release. That womb space, think of it as a Rolodex or a hard drive for everything you experience in life. And instead of feeling it, it kept getting buried deeper and deeper and deeper. And yet she kept going and going and going. She was extraordinary. She was strong in ways that would take your breath away, and she never, not once, got to put it down. Now, here's where it gets important. So the grief that she tucked away, that fear that she swallowed, that love that never got to be expressed fully, it didn't die with her. It became a part of her energetic blueprint, that energetic blueprint of your family line. And it settled into the nervous system of not only her, but her daughters who came after her. It shaped the way they moved through the world, the hypervigilance, the inability to rest, the keep going, keep doing, go, go, go. The feeling that softness is dangerous or weakness. That needing things is weakness. That needing help is weakness. That falling apart is simply not an option. We don't do that. We're so-and-so. We don't do that. We're strong women. But now it's come to you. And it's not a story, and it's not coming to you as a story either. It's not coming to you as a memory that you can pinpoint it to. It's a coming to you and showing up in you as a feeling that you might have had your whole life and not able to explain, an unexplained fear or worry or anxiety that has no clear trigger. It's maybe in the grief that surfaces at the strangest moments in time, the way you push through when your body is screaming to stop, because somewhere deep in you, stopping doesn't feel safe. The way you hold everything together for everyone around you, and then wonder why you're exhausted in a way sleep doesn't fix, that is not out of the blue. That is not necessarily because you're working too hard. It might be that it's inherited. Definitely not personal failings in any way, but it could be that it's inherited. Now, I want to preface this whole episode and all of my work by saying, we're not using generational and lineage work as a way to bypass our own stuff. Our own trauma, our own grief, our own sadness. We're not putting the blame on being passed down this stuff. No, we got to do our own work. And then when we've gone through all of our Rolodex of things that have happened to us that our body has stored, and only then when we still don't have an answer, that's when we look into the generational stuff. That's when we go, let me go deeper here. Let's go into my roots. What is in my roots? That's where we look into the inherited generational lineage of energetic blueprinting and your family's nervous system regulation, and how those traumas and those survival modes have been passed down to you. So that when we speak on this is how the nervous system of a woman who survived is still living within you, still in survival mode, still holding what was never processed, still wanting for someone in your family line to turn away and say, I see you. I've got this now. You can rest. And that's what the work is. It's untangling, unweaving all of the things that we're feeling that don't make sense, but we can feel it viscerally. It's like walking through Auschwitz, or walking along a family farm, or picking up a book or a journal of your grandmother's and feeling all the emotions that have been written into it without even reading a word. It's like you're experiencing it yourself. It's like it's reawakening within you. That's what your nervous system is remembering. That is the lineage within you. So I know this on a particularly personal level. For me, I've always been fascinated with the lineage line in my family. I grew up living with great grandparents. I grew up very close to my grandmother as well, and seeing what she had been through. So for me, I was able to look a little bit deeper, pretty I want to say easy, but I don't mean it was easy per se, but I mean that I could see the women in front of me pretty easily because they were literally living either with me or very close to me. So on my father's side, my grandmother, she lost 2 husbands. She survived domestic abuse, and she raised 4 boys entirely on her own from the point that my dad was a teenager, and not because she chose to, but because life kept taking from her and she had no choice but keep standing. She had 4 boys depending on her. She was living with her in-laws. They were running a farm. She had just become a nurse. She had to keep going in order to keep food on the table. She was one of the most extraordinary women I have ever known, and she never got to fall apart, not once. Now, I didn't know how much of her I was carrying. I, for a long time, did not understand what that looked like or felt like. How much of her particular strength as well, the kind that never bends, never asks for help, never lets anyone see the way. Maybe we call it stubbornness. I didn't realize how much of that was in me. How much I looked up to her and admired those things, not realizing that they might actually be a trauma response, that maybe people had let her down through life, and so she had put up a wall to do everything herself. Even when she was well into her adult life and her kids were grown with families of her own, she still was the caregiver to her mother. So for me, looking back now, I wonder when she lived for herself. And I noticed that through experiencing and witnessing this in her, I was doing the same. I was setting my life up the same way that she had, only I didn't have all of the heartbreak and experiences that she had. I was taking it on and I was programming subconsciously my world to mirror hers. And it felt like mine. It felt like just who I was until I went to the root of it, until I sat with what she was carrying and carried through her lifetime, and I couldn't release it. I had done the EMDR, I had done talk therapy, horse therapy, somatic releasing, yoga, read all the books, done the courses, all the things, and I couldn't release it. And that's when I thought to myself, there's got to be something deeper here. Maybe this isn't even mine. Maybe I'm holding this as a part of the lineage that's been passed down. Maybe this goes deeper, just as though I was working with Others who we found that some of the anxiety they were having, when we went back into the depths of their subconscious, into the generations, when we did past life regressions, we noticed that's where it stemmed from a previous life or a previous family member, and it was living within them. And so when I went in and I really felt it, I really felt it in my own body, in my own womb space, the grief that I was holding, these conditions that I was programming myself to follow, that was hers. And the fear that lived within me about always having to be by myself for the rest of my life was hers as well. The exhaustion of a woman who kept going because stopping was never an option was not all mine. And I'm not using this as bypassing. I had done all the things, and there was still this piece that just was screaming that this is something else. And so when I sat with that, when I really started to put the pieces together, I began to weep in a way that she never got to, and weep in a way that I was not only grieving for myself, but I was grieving for her too. And something within my own body, something that had been braced for so long as I could remember, so long, finally began to loosen. And that is the untangling. That is what becomes possible when we stop trying to heal that personal level of what lies at the surface and go deeper into the lines of lineage and past life. And so, as I share this with you, I want you to take a moment just to notice, is there anything that's still holding on, regardless of how much therapy, how much energetic work, how much alternative wellness, how much of all the things you're doing? Is there something that's still living within you that you can maybe see now, the pattern that you've adapted into your own life, maybe a pattern or a way of living that your mother, your grandmother, and so on and so forth have lived? This isn't just about the physical emotion, or the emotional rather, but this is also the physical. I remember I had one mentor, and she was telling me about how every woman in her lineage line had knee replacements at a very young age. And coincidentally, all these women also needed knee replacements on the right side, that masculine side of their body. Also, coincidentally, they all had went through really crappy relationships. And so this was something systemic that went generation to generation to generation. And when she realized that this was something that gets passed down through the women in her lineage line, she decided to be proactive and do something about it. So she was a long distance runner. She was starting to get knee pain, which was really out of character for her. She was coming to the same age where all the women had needed knee replacements or started to have really adverse reactions with their body and with their knee in particular. So she began to do the generational work, and this is where she rewrote her path forward. And still to this day, it's about 20 years later now, and she's still running, and she has never had to need a knee replacement yet. And she truly believes that's because she did the untangling work. So let's work with that now, and let's move into a bit of an activation. I know it's kind of odd to be doing this on a podcast, but it's something that feels right. So we're going to do this. So I want to offer you something in the sense and in the package of a short activation to really help you begin to make contact with the silenced women in your line, or men in your line as well. You do not need to know their stories, okay? We don't need to know the full history here. We don't need to have any prior experience with this kind of work. And you definitely do not need to know the full scope of what's going on within you, okay? All you need to know is that you're going to come forward with an open mind, an open heart, and a willingness to feel whatever arises. There's no right way or wrong way to move into this work. So let's move forward. Let's find a comfy, cozy spot if you can, if it's accessible to you. Let those eyes close, or even just bring in a low gaze, letting that breath move through your body. So taking that breath in and allowing it to come up through the toes, all the way up to the nose, up that front body. Giving that breath a hold for 3, 2, 1, and exhale, letting it slide down the back body, letting it go completely. And we're going to repeat this for about 3 more times. So on your own, breathing in from toes to nose, holding that breath, and exhaling down the back body. And gently bringing your attention to your womb space, or the center of your body between your hip bones. Invitation to place a hand there if it feels right for you. And as you hold here, just noticing what you feel. Noticing what's arriving. Maybe inviting all the women in your lineage to come in for the next 5 minutes. And now I want you to bring into your mind, gently, without force, maybe one woman in your lineage who you sense carried something she never got to release. It might be your mother, your grandmother, or someone you never met, but always somehow felt connected to. You don't need to know her full story. Just letting that breath move through and feeling into her presence, inviting her to come forward for the next few minutes. I'm going to pause while you do that. It's literally like having a conversation with her in your mind, asking her to come sit with you, come drive with you, come lay here with you. And notice what happens in your body as you do just that. Does something tighten or soften maybe? Is there an emotion coming forward like grief or anxiousness? Is there recognition or maybe a heaviness that feels familiar? And maybe it feels familiar not just because you felt it too. The crows just went outside the window. I don't know if you can hear that. But maybe it feels familiar not just because you were feeling it too, but because there's a version of it within you and within your whole life that has been passed down since the time you were in utero. And now, with one hand on that womb space, I want you to speak to her, either out loud or silently. Whatever feels true. And you're going to say to her, taking a pause, grounding down once again through that breath into the feet, this time breathing in through the nose, down into the feet, down into the sits bones if you're sitting, and exhale a gray fog out. Let's do that grounding breath again. Inhale, nice bright light in through the nose, down into the feet and sits bones. And out through the mouth, saying, I see you. I see what you have carried. I see what you never got to put down. And I want you to know I am here now. I am ready to carry this differently so you can begin to rest. I see you. I see what you've carried. I see what you never got to put down. And I want you to know I am here now. I am ready to carry this differently, and you can begin to rest. Giving yourself permission to lay it down, to walk a little differently. Taking the breath into the body, and as you exhale, imagine her just for a moment exhaling too, maybe sitting or standing before you, a mirror of you. Letting that exhale release for the both of you, releasing something she's been holding for a very long time. You don't have to complete this in this very moment. This doesn't need to be feeling completed or like a massive shift right in this moment. But this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning of a conversation with your lineage and not the end of one. So invite yourself to take some more slow breaths as you move through the sensations, the thoughts, maybe even resistance. And when you're ready, gently come back to this time and space, knowing that you can go back and work with that at any point in time, envisioning the women from your lineage sitting or standing before you, that breath that you exhale, that affirmation, that intention of letting it go, showing up and walking differently, transmuting and transforming those pieces of grief, anger, whatever that may be, with that breath, letting it mutate and release, processing through the body with the breath. And so as we come back, if something moved in that activation, if you felt like maybe you can come back and do that again, if you felt her, if grief came up, if something in your body shifted even slightly, know that that's not a coincidence. That's recognition. That is your lineage making contact with you and saying, yes, we are here and we are ready. This is the work I do with so many women inside the untangling. We don't just talk about these patterns. We go into the body, into the womb space, into the energetic field, and we begin to really process releasing what has been held for generations. If this episode found you at the right moment, I want you to know that it's not by accident either. There is a link in the description below to learn more about the untangling and to apply for one of the founding spots still available. And if you know a woman who needs to hear this episode, a woman who is strong in the way your grandmother was strong, who holds everything together and never lets anyone see the weight, please share this with her. Please know that you see her. Let her know that you see her. And by holding on isn't weakness. A lot of the time it's survival. It's not having that space that we can actually set things down. But maybe by listening, we can begin to set things down one pebble at a time. And maybe she'll recognize it in the moments she hears it, that she too is allowed to process, to feel, to take time to move through and to let go as it feels right. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode, and with so much love and so much kindness, have a great day.